Welcome to Unsilenced, Voices That Matter. My name is Kate Ibeanusi, and here we create the space for honest conversations. Conversations about the experiences that shape us, that challenge us, and sometimes completely redefine who we become. Today's conversation sits at that point of building a career and becoming a mother. Our guest describes this season of her life as one that fundamentally redefined who she is and changed the way she sees the world. And that is where our conversation begins. My guest today is a woman whose life's work is built around a single conviction: that education can transform lives, communities, and nations. Olamipo Oshinowo is an education leader, a consultant, a development practitioner with nearly 20 years of experience spanning education leadership, social impact programming, and enterprise management. She currently serves as the Center Director at Ascend Nurseries. She holds a master's degree in international development and English from the Newcastle University. But what brings her to this conversation is not her impressive CV. It is a season in her life where career transition and the journey to motherhood arrived together and changed her in profound ways. Her walk with God deepened, her worldview shifted, and the woman who emerged from that season is, in her own words, redefined. Olamipo Oshinowo, welcome to Unsilenced, Voices That Matter.
Thank you, Miss Gates. I'm happy and excited to be here.
I am more excited to have you join me. So we'll start with a simple question. Who was Olamipo before this season that I have described? And what mattered most?
Okay, well, I think before I went through everything I went through, I was just going through life thinking life is a bed of roses. Everything is perfect. I have all my ducks in a row. Everything is going in a certain direction. But then it was like a wake-up call. It was almost like I was in a dormant state. That's the way I'll see it in retrospect. But then it was like everything, my world was shaking, everything was upside down. But before, so right now, I would say that looking back, that time I was in a cocoon. I didn't even know what the real world was. But I'm grateful that I went through that journey and I'm here today. Yes.
So during that period, what mattered most to you?
Okay, I think then what mattered most, because looking at it now, what mattered most to me was probably what helped me to go through that season, right? That's just God. The God factor, the presence of God, knowing that no matter how bad it gets, no matter what goes on, I can always fall back on God. You know that song that says that because He lives, I can face tomorrow. I literally began to experience that song. It was my life. Like really, I can wake up tomorrow and go about my day because God lives and God exists. So that was probably the most important thing really at that point in time.
So take us back. Where does this story begin?
Okay. Well, I'll say it started. I got from when I started my career and going into marriage. I started as a young graduate, got my first job in 2007. 2009, I got married. And of course, you get married, everybody wants, next thing, from the wedding, the pressure is there. You must have 100 children. But in the next 9 months, we're coming to eat rice and all of that. And it went on and on. And then before then, I know I had this conversation with a friend and I said, I don't know where there was just that subtle fear. Something just said, what happens if you don't have children immediately? And I started telling God, I said, God, please, you know the kind of family I'm married into. I need to start having children like immediately because I don't want to have any issues with my mother-in-law. I don't want to have issues with anybody. And my friend was like, why did you have that crazy thought? And I said, I really do not know where it came from. And then the journey started. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I think about year 5, I got pregnant. But there was a miscarriage at about 12 weeks, which was like all hopes dashed. And then before then, I had had a surgery, major surgery as well, for fibroids and ovarian cysts. So these were instances in my life that I never thought I would go through. Why am I having a surgery, this kind of surgery? Why am I going through this? I remember being wheeled into the theater and I'm like, God, which way? How far was going on? But I went to that theater strong and I came out stronger, better, recovered, and everything. That was phase one. I felt, oh, yes, okay, now that is done and dusted. We went down the line again, till we got to 12 years. In that 12 years, 3 surgeries for fibroids, countless procedures. I mean, countless procedures. There's this one, there's that one, of course, IVF in between, and all the heartache and pain and everything and all of that. And in the midst of that, I kept on pushing forward in my career because I felt if I cannot give birth to children biologically, I can birth my ideas, I can birth the businesses, I can birth other things, And that's what I began to do. I went for my master's in the gap of that 12 years. When I was going, people were like, you're going for master's, you're going to leave your husband will have a wife and have children before you come back. And I'm like, I'm not going to put my life on hold. I'm not going to stop growing because a certain part of my life is not going in the direction I want. So that was what I just kept doing. I made sure I kept growing. I kept doing all the things that I know that God was laying on my heart to do. Even though I was waiting in one area, I did not put other parts of my life on hold because of that aspect, And I just continued to push forward. Went for like the degree I have now, in the master's. It was in the UK. I was away for a year and about 6 months. I came back, we carried on waiting. I even had a surgery while I was in the UK while I was studying, the second surgery. So it was just a season of stretching, of pressure on every side, but like gold, and all the precious diamonds, when they come out from the rough, they don't look as beautiful as they do when the pressure is applied, when this is done and all of that, that's when they come out beautiful. So it wasn't pleasurable while I was going through it. There are days I would go like, God, how am I the only one in the world? Like, what is going on? But I thank God that I came out to a wealthy place. God came through. I'm not saying that my life is all dandy and rosy and beautiful and perfect now. There are still challenges. And now I understand that is part of being human. Life is not a bed of roses. If anybody ever told you that, then you're deceiving yourself. And it's in those seasons where we stretch, where we grow, and where we get better, and where I believe our humanity is refined. So that's just a bit about the journey.
This is such an amazing journey you just walked us through. I would say thank you for opening up and sharing this very honestly. When I was reading through the texts that you sent, you named career transition and motherhood together. Why together? I hear you. I hear you when you say you did not allow your life to stop because you have not had kids yet. So you needed to progress, at least in one area of your life. So when you named them together, career transition, motherhood, why did you name those two together?
Okay, well, I think maybe because I was navigating both of them at the same time. And given the extreme end, so my first job was in banking. So I have about 6 years work experience in the banking sector. So I moved consulting, did all of that. But when I was going to do the major transition, I moved from banking straight into education. Consulting straight into education. So when I was even going for my master's, when I saw the course, I was excited. So education literally excites me. And looking at the fact that you're educating children, other people's children, and then here's a paradox. You want to educate other people's children and you don't have children of your own yet, So I went to school, I got back. When I got back, what I'm doing now, I wanted to start it then, but my husband said, no, don't do it. And I believe he probably said I should hold on because you know, the way our society is, they can go like, oh, yeah, taking your children to that woman that doesn't have a child. Oh, what are you people saying? Da, 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 da. So I'm sure that was why he was protecting me and saying, don't do this yet. So when I got back from my studies, I started an NGO. We were looking after children in slum and underserved communities, just helping with their educational needs and all. So I wasn't in the proper school setting. I went back, did a bit of consulting, but I was not satisfied. I was still empty. So maybe one of the reasons I tied both of them together is the fact that I found a lot of fulfillment when I did my full transition and then with motherhood. I have a beautiful daughter today, oh God, and she's a ball of energy. Every second I'm like, God, thank you for this girl. At times when she goes like, mommy, 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 I'm like, oh Lord, somebody's calling me mommy. I'm somebody's mommy now, you know? So that joy and the fact that I'm sitting right where I should sit. And at times I look at it, I'm like, okay, is it because I have a ministry to children? Is that why I was delayed in having my own biological children? What exactly was it? But I don't want to go into all of that because I don't even have the answers, you know. I don't know but I just know that I was stretched and I grew. And I also know that a lot of people also struggle with career transition. It's always hard, especially in this our part of the world where you go to school because JAMB and WAEC largely determine the career or the direction in which your career will go. And you have people who are frustrated. You are or suddenly in science class, but naturally you're art oriented, but you're in the science class, and your parents are saying, "Go and study medicine, go and do this, go and do that," and then somewhere along the line, the scores are not helping you, and you just find yourself doing what you are not told to do, what doesn't come to you naturally. So I know lots of people struggle with career transitions, and having navigated career transition excellently well, I want to say so myself, if I can say so myself. I think that a lot of people can also learn from my story, how I was able to transition and all of that. So yeah.
Thank you again. So this season, I'll take you back a bit to the season when all of this was happening. What did it feel like from the inside? You know, you mentioned what people would think. You were going to do a master's, and of course, this one, she doesn't have a child yet, and she wants to go and do a master's. What did that season really feel like from the inside?
The truth was, in retrospect, I personally, if you had left me, I was fine. The major issues I had was people around, the pressure from society, because even with my husband, we were good. He never for once put any pressure on me. He never, in fact, he was so supportive. And I think that was just the most important thing, that two of us, we were actually in it together. And he was there to support me and hold my hands all through. So internally, I was at peace. I think what probably put a lot of pressure on me was the pressure on my health. The fact that I was constantly going for procedures, for surgeries. So that was probably what weighed me down the most. But the journey to motherhood itself, I don't think I was as troubled as I was expected to be, really. Yes. So
Was there a moment when you felt that something shifted, or when you knew that something had shifted?
yes. Before I had my daughter, because I got to a point, where, when you pray, 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 pray. And at times, in all fairness, I'm not saying that every day was good. Every day I was shouting hallelujah. Some days I was down and asking God, why? Why me? Why am I going through this? What is it? Where did I go wrong? I'll ask God all the questions, get all emotional, say, God, you know what? I'm not praying again. I'm not doing anything again. Let's just stay in your corner. And all those days were there. But so I got to prevent that from happening, because I just felt like it was like I was being an ingrate. How will I put God in that box and saying, because you haven't done this for me, then you are not a good God? So to stop that, I stopped hoping. I stopped expecting. I just turned off all hope, like, so that I will not be disappointed when my period comes. I'm just like, oh, okay, we're here, this is good. And I just go. So I didn't realize that I had gotten to that point until I went to visit one of my mentors who was like who's like a mother figure to me. And that girl was there, I was clocking 40. And she was like, oh, Olamipo, you're going to clock 40 this year, right? I said, yes. And she said, also, you've been married for 12 years. I said, yes. She said, do you study Bible numbers? Do you know the significance of 40 and 12? And she literally challenged me that you better wake up. 12 is the number of government. Whatever you allow pass by in this season, then, God forbid, maybe in another 12-year cycle before you can break this. Da, 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 da. And she just challenged me. And I was like, God, what's this one again? So I went back home and I just started praying. And of course, that was before I had the third surgery. So when I had the surgery, my doctor said to me, he said, you know what? We need to have an IVF like almost immediately, like 3-4 months. Please come back. But in that period, something was stirred up in me already. The hope and expectation had come alive again, and when we went in for the IVF, in fact, on the day I was just like, all I'm also asking is mercy, just your mercy, and that's it. And I left it at that. So when it looked like everything, because on my journey, I had a friend that we were going through the journey together, and she had been through so many IVFs. So she was asking me, so how are you feeling now? How is this now? I'm like, I'm not feeling all these things. So before I went into the hospital for the test, I was already like, God, I don't know what this is, but I just trust you. Lo and behold, there was a positive pregnancy test. And although my doctor felt, something wasn't, I think they didn't see that sac, but they saw the heartbeat. So it was like, you know what, just go back and let's see, we'll do the scan again in 2 weeks, da, 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 da. And I was like, God, no, yeah, brought me this far. We're going all the way to the end. So by that time, I was tenacious. I knew how to hold on to my victory. So that was the shift, because I had that, I don't know what to call it. There was this stubborn or fierce belief, like this time around, this is it. There was just a knowing on my inside, and lo and behold, that was it. And that was what helped me through the pregnancy and even till now.